Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content that we're throwing up. And make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And yeah, let's begin. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with the Mighty Avengers. Yes, we are. The Blue Marvel versus Shuma-Gorath. And this is kind of a cool little story, right? Because in the last video we did on this, we had basically talked about how it tied into the events of Infinity, right? So like Thanos and his Coal Obsidian, which is still like one of the coolest names. Here's my question for you guys, right? Because I posted this on Twitter and the reactions were kind of mixed, right? People thought there were other cool names. In my mind, the Ebony Maw is the coolest name ever for like a comic book villain, right? Just like the Maw or like the Ebony Maw. It's just an amazing name to have. My question is, do you guys agree or disagree? Coal Obsidian is the best villainous name ever created. There'll be no arguing that point. But in terms of the name, the Ebony Maw, do you guys think that's the best like villainous name for a character ever? Or can you think of one better? And if you can, post down in the description. I'm curious to see what you guys say. But in the previous video, we talked about how this tied into the events of Infinity and the forces of Thanos, the Coal Obsidian invading Earth for the purpose of helping Thanos track down Thane, right, his son. Now, if you guys never saw the Infinity story or never read the Infinity story, you can check the link down in the description. You guys will find the whole series there, Jonathan Hickman and all that stuff. It's really, really amazing, right? It's just this amazingly written series, or at least story arc. But this is where Doctor Strange had essentially brought Shuma-Gorath into the main Marvel universe, or at least began the process of Shuma-Gorath invading. And that's kind of a big deal, right? Because Shuma-Gorath is kind of like this primordial god, right? Technically, he's what's called one of the many angled ones, and the many angled ones, and the way I always explain it, I think is the easiest way to do it. If you imagine a brick wall and you imagine each one of those bricks is its own universe, right? There's, one brick is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, another brick is the main Marvel Universe and the story that we're telling right now, and another brick is the real world where you are watching this video at the moment. The mortar in between those bricks is where the many angled ones reside, right? They're just kind of in this exceedingly small space. And Shuma-Gorath is considered one of those individuals, but unlike most of the many angled ones, in fact, pretty much all of them, Shuma-Gorath managed to kind of break free and then over the course of time start conquering different realities across the multiverse, right? So there's entire universes out there that have been totally dominated by Shuma-Gorath, and he controls everything there. It's just that like with Doctor Strange or the Ancient One or something like that, by whatever manner and whatever means, his attempts to invade this universe have always been stopped, right? And that's kind of the main idea behind his character. He's always trying to show up here. Now, the truth is that if Shuma-Gorath in his full form, power, and totality were to arrive in the main Marvel universe, he would be unstoppable. And that's one of the first things that's established here, right? This is really a facsimile of his character. And we know this from a couple different ways. The first is when Blue Marvel fights him. And when I say fights him, I mean like that. In the sense that this version of Shuma-Gorath is just kind of a small version of himself that manifests here on the physical plane. That in terms of the true form of Shuma-Gorath, it's out there somewhere in the multiverse, right? Trying to find a way in here. And this little version of itself, it kind of opens a doorway of sorts. And that's all Stephen Strange really did. Stephen Strange opened up a kind of doorway which allowed a facsimile of Shuma-Gorath to enter. And then when that version of Shuma-Gorath begins to basically expand its sphere of influence across the world, then it'll basically lead to Shuma-Gorath proper invading into the main Marvel universe and then essentially wiping out all the cosmic entities and all the beings in existence and then basically conquering everything, right? Because even characters like Galactus and Eternity and all those beings would fall before the might of the vast power of Shuma-Gorath. And the Living Tribunal is not going to step in because it's what Shuma-Gorath does, right? He's just fulfilling his role. If the Living Tribunal was ever going to step in, he would have done it already in any one of the other universes that Shuma-Gorath conquered. But Blue Marvel showing up here, and it's really cool the way Al Ewing does this, Blue Marvel showing up here is one of these things where it's kind of like, okay, so he's here to save the day. When it comes to Adam Brashear, this guy's a powerhouse, right? This guy is a hoss, right? He's insanely intelligent. He's ridiculously powerful. He's one of the most powerful beings in Marvel, right? I mean, it's crazy how capable he is. And one of the things we had talked about is how the staff of Proxima Midnight had basically, quote unquote, disrupted Monica Rambeau. Now, I'm not really a physicist here. And so when stuff's being said about how like, her photons are turning into anti-photons and eating her alive or something like that, I don't really understand what that means, right? All it really seems like here is her body's basically just breaking itself down, right? Essentially, the staff has impacted her in such a way to where her body's essentially kind of falling apart is really all it is, right? And it seems as though she's kind of losing control of her powers, all that kind of stuff. What Adam Brashear does is he comes in and rectifies the situation. Now, this is an important thing to understand here, right? And at first glance, it's easy to kind of overlook and just be like, okay, so like that's a thing. Like he basically performed some kind of power surgery on this girl. If only it were really that simple. When it comes to Monica Rambeau, you have to keep in mind, she's called spectrum because she is essentially the entire electromagnetic spectrum, right? That's what she's made up of. She's made up of every form of light. She's made up of all these different forms of energy that are out there, everything within the aspect or within the frame of the electromagnetic spectrum. What this means with Adam Brashear showing up here is Adam Brashear is either in balance with it or is more powerful than that, right? So being able to control or manipulate the entirety of the electromagnetic spectrum is no small thing, right? That's one of the reasons why we say Adam Brashear is way beyond Omega level, right? Because the electromagnetic spectrum is not confined simply to Earth, right? It permeates, it's like the Force, right? It permeates throughout everything, right? It permeates throughout the entirety of the universe. Being able to manipulate that lends credence to the argument, which I don't really buy into fully, that Adam Brashear is a character that has the potential to warp reality on a universal scale, right? We've never seen him do that. There's no reason to believe that he actually can. There's a kind of argument that's being made out there that he's capable of doing that. Now, the other part of this and why things get kind of wonky is what you end up doing is picking up with essentially Doctor Strange, of course, again, being manipulated by the Ebony Maw, but Doctor Strange kind of creating a shield of sorts, a kind of, impenetrable force field around the body of Shuma-Gorath as it begins to reconstitute, right? Begins to reconstruct itself. And again, that's the kind of power that we're dealing with here. Not only that, as Shuma-Gorath stays in this dimension longer and longer, that portal begins to open more and more. And as that begins to take place, his power becomes stronger and stronger. And this is something to bear in mind here, right? This is why Shuma-Gorath is so incredibly powerful. Just only being in this dimension, only being in this universe for what amounts to maybe 10 minutes, he already has the ability to dominate and control the minds of everybody in his immediate space, right? That's 10 minutes of occupancy within this universe. Imagine what he would do with a year, right? That's what we're talking about when it comes to like Shuma-Gorath being here within this exceedingly short amount of time. He's already able to manipulate and dominate the wills of other people. Now, these are just normal human beings. Their resiliency, their capability, what they can do, what they stand for, their own fortitude is usually far lower than that of superheroes. And that's one of the things to understand is this is what makes this kind of cool, is despite the fact that Adam Brashear flew through his head and essentially, kind of incapacitated, even if only, even temporarily, this physical form of Shuma-Gorath, Shuma-Gorath doesn't really care. He's just kind of like, as I grow stronger, I will become more powerful and I will devour all of you. He's just kind of blowing everybody off because of Shuma-Gorath, right? That's the kind of power that we're discussing here. It's one of these things that I'm really kind of trying to drive home in terms of how powerful this guy is, because we don't really see him all too often. Now, we do have a Beyond Omega level video where we do talk about all the power of Shuma-Gorath, what he can do, how capable he is. But the next thing that really comes in here is when you basically have Spider Hero who starts talking to Power Man. And remember, Power Man has the ability, it's kind of the new iteration of Luke Cage, kind of, but not really. He can use his visor to essentially tap into the chi energy of the world around him. And that's one of the things that like Spider Hero comes up. And this is one of the reasons why I asked, do you guys know who this guy is? Because it's not Spider-Man or anybody associated with the Spider-Man mythos, really. He's a pretty cool character, but he offers these kind of words of wisdom to Power Man in saying everything in this world has a kind of energy to it. It has chi, essentially. You can tap into that. Now, it doesn't mean he can like turn a teapot into a cat, right? It doesn't really work that way. But it's one of these things where it's like basically what you can do is you can tap into all this energy, starting from your home, your comfort zone, and you're working your way out throughout the entirety of the city, even the world if you chose to. Your job is to tap into all that energy and to basically take all that energy and coalesce it into a singular ball. And then when he does that, it's channeling it directly into White Tiger. And so in effect, it's like when Goku absorbed a spirit bomb is really what it is, right? This guy makes a spirit bomb out of the city of New York, but that's basically what's happening is he's channeling all this energy and in a lot of ways pulling on it all. Now, it's not really pulling on the life energy of other people in the sense that like they're getting weaker and they're dying, but it is one of these things where it's like, okay, like he's pulling a sort of energy source that kind of permeates out there and then passing it on to White Tiger, who in turn uses her ability to tap into the Tiger God and then basically channels all that power, expands on it, and then the Tiger God destroys the physical form of Shuma-Gorath. And that's where things really kind of begin to wrap up, right? Because it's kind of like, okay, with this physical form of Shuma-Gorath basically being assaulted, where it initially goes back to basically start reconstituting itself again, that's when Spectrum jumps in, and with her powers having been bolstered with the aid of Blue Marvel, she's able to use her manipulation over the entirety of the electromagnetic spectrum and then wipe out Shuma-Gorath in his physical form. And what it does is it recloses the portal, right? The portal shuts back down, and Shuma-Gorath is essentially stayed once again from being able to invade the entirety of the main Marvel universe, right? Because again, if this hadn't worked, and this is kind of a big gambit, and that's why it's such a big deal, because if they had failed, and this is the one thing you have to think about, if the Mighty Avengers had failed and they had not defeated Shuma-Gorath at the end of Infinity, like Shuma-Gorath would have destroyed Thanos, Shuma-Gorath would have destroyed the Coal Obsidian, right? Because remember, the Infinity Stones are gone at this point. They've been destroyed, right? We know that from Jonathan Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers. There are no more Infinity Stones. The Cosmic Cubes are basically null and void now because the Beyonders are essentially in the main Marvel universe. They shut down access to anybody being able to access the Beyondverse, so there really are no cosmic cubes going around anymore. But it's one of these things where it's like, when this goes on, you know, when this goes down, like, had they failed, the Avengers would have arrived back to Earth, to a world dominated by Shuma-Gorath, who would have been expanding his sphere of influence through the solar system and into the galaxy and into the universe, and there would have been anything anybody could have done to stop him. No cosmic entities, no nothing, right? The universe would have just fallen to the power of Shuma-Gorath. And the best thing any of the superheroes could do is just run and flee for their lives. That's basically it. But from there, with the defeat of Shuma-Gorath, this incredibly powerful character, the Mighty Avengers formation is solidified, right? Spectrum, Spider-Hero, White Tiger, Power Man, Blue Marvel, and the Superior Spider-Man, Dr. Octopus. That's what we're looking at now, right? Like that's the team that we have assembled. But Mighty Avengers was cool, right? It was a really cool team. And it was a really cool line of stories for a little while. As short-lived as it was a great line of stories. But with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.